In this video help, what we're going to be doing is a thing called navigation. And what I want to do is I want to cover, I'm going to go up here and click on the app map. Navigating around this application can be confusing if you don't understand some of the design logic. And the first thing I want to cover is we're in the base calendar, which is this button at the top of the screen. When you click on this, it takes you to this calendar. This same menu is on all screens, so as you're moving around through the application, you're going to see the same data. Whatever screen you're in, you're going to be able to navigate to any of the other screens in the application. So far, we covered the calendar and its subordinate appointment screen. We covered the main menu. We covered the asset management, asset listing, and we're going to be covering next the asset report. So I'm going to pop over to the asset report and show you this. Basically, there are a number of different reports in this application. Some are treated slightly differently than other ones, although they may have the same kind of information or similar information in them. And in this particular report, there is each piece of equipment that belongs in the application, and it's going to show you the information for that, basically that record. And you'll see similar data that you see on the asset screen, but it's in the report format so that you can see all the data on it. And what it's doing is it's showing the asset values on each one of these, like the asset price, the net all asset values for a given set of records as you're going down for all the records that are current in selection. So as you go to the bottom of the report, you're going to see a summary at the bottom of the report. And it shows you that there's in this case, is 115,578.89 as far as the individual assets value. Now, what would this be used for? If you're accounting for the assets and the cost and value of assets, it's going to change periodically. Depending on some organizations, it may change every day almost. If you're adding assets and taking them away, some of them being disposed of or deleted, other ones being sold to other organizations or auctioned off at maybe an auction or something like that, then those assets would change. And as you can see here, each one of these screens has a picture of the asset that we're talking about. And on this screen, the active item that you're viewing at the time is highlighted differently than the rest of the screen. And if you want to go ahead and go to the actual record, you would click on the asset button to take you into the item that you're seeing in the picture. So this is basically an overall value and information screen in the form of asset report. Next thing we're going to go look at, and we've already seen the booking UDF, and the UDF listing is a list of the UDF fields, and it shows you all of them. So if you do a find, you can group them and see which different records had which different UDF fields and the information for them. The usage for that would be if you're trying to match data and how many times it occurs and how many different kinds of versions of it there are. The next thing is the list billing notes. You're going to see several of these. I'm only going to cover the first one. And basically what it does, they're very similar in that they have an add button. You type in here what you're adding, and it's added to this area here. And if you want to edit it, you click on it, and it brings that one up so you can edit it. And then you would go back to the screen that was the one that you left to come to this particular area. And again, you'll see that in applications screens, like in the asset management, if a header has an underline underneath of it and has a drop down in that actual field, it probably has a list with it, so you can edit that list in one of these screens. So as we go down through the lists, you'll see that there's a number of them. There's several of them in this application as you're going down through it. The next one is the equipment add service. This is actually the screen that was in one of our videos where we talked about adding and planning the service requirements. So I'm only going to touch on it slightly. The next one is from that equipment asset, you have a list view of all the assets that are currently in the application. And what this one does is this is the equipment assignment list. And this is going to be a running one based on the date. And this is the issue date is the most important part of this, in that the issue date shows you when that item was actually issued. And you can see on here that this one has been issued twice, number 2, and 4 is in there once, and 8 is in there based on the item. You see the serial numbers, you see the description and date of the actual issue and the number of days it's supposed to be out, and the return and return date. And then the company that it was issued to is going to be here, which is selected on the issue street. In this particular screen, you're not going to be changing data here. You're basically going to be doing a find for something, or you're going to just click on this arrow here to go to that particular record. The next one is the assignment report. And the assignment report is slightly different in that it's going to categorize an ID, and then every time that ID occurs, it's going to have a record underneath of it showing when the equipment was actually issued. So it's issued by ID, and the ID is the principal field. You would normally use a date also to identify the dates in order of when that item was actually issued. So you see 2 issues here for this one, and then you see the next one's 4, and it's only been issued once, and 8 only once. So if there were 16 or 20 different issues here, as far as this particular piece of equipment, you're going to see it multiple times, and you're going to see the information about it. You're going to see the current status on that item, and when if it's returned or delivered or issued or whatever it may be, and the company that it was issued to. The next one is the work order labor, and basically what this is this is from the equipment service screen. And what it does is it lists all the individual screen labors that are entered into the particular work order. So if you have a work order and there's a number of things that were done to it, they're going to be indicated underneath of that particular work order by the work order and the date. So this is the work order number and the date. So here's 2 of them within the same grouping. And then the subtotal and the labor total. So this is the 12 and the 30 dollars coming together as a total for that particular item for labor subtotal when each one of these records are calculated. And then of course at the very bottom of the application, it's going to summarize all the labor. So if you're doing a find in here and you find it for a particular work order, you would click find, pick the work order, and what it would do is it would just show you that work order and what was included in it. And then down at the bottom, it would summarize it. And it would summarize individual and then the summary total at the bottom. Let's go to the next item. Service material. Service material is a running list, and you can do searches on the items that are being used repetitively. And that would give you that listing. And this is the portal record for the service materials. These are lists. I'm not going to repeat those. The equipment billing list view. This is a list of all the billings from the invoice, and basically it indicates who was billed, how much they were billed, and how much they paid. And in this particular case, you'll see the actual issued to here, and that'll give you the information for that. And if you want to view that particular record, now what these are the row by rows. If you came in here and you were looking for a particular one for a particular company, and then you wanted to say, for example, edit that, you would go over here and click on this to edit that particular row in the billing on the invoice itself. If you wanted to delete a row, you would do that in the individual row in that portal. So this is going to take you to that portal row in the individual record. We covered the long invoice, the equipment billing report. Now this is more detailed, and basically what this does is it's taking all the issues that you've done as far as the billing, and it's going to detail out the information for the billing so that you can see who it was listed with and for, what the individual quantities were, the cost, and what the cost total was. And the latest sales, it'll be the sales item that's in the line that shows what it was billed for, like a delivery, a pickup. And then it goes down to the bottom. And again, you can do a find based on the actual item ID or the name of the item or the customer. And you would use these down here to be able to do that. And what it would do is it would build you, say for example, you wanted to see every time that this particular customer had ordered or billed something. Or you want to look at a particular item on a particular day, what was billed. Or you want to see everything that was done for a delivery based on one item. It would show you every time it was delivered or picked up. I could use pick up as a search field. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to use this. It's kind of a little bit of gray matter where you have to kind of figure out where you want to do and see stuff. And then it goes down to the bottom when it summarizes the report based on the records in selection. It will show you the sum for the individuals, then the grand total for the records that are in the current selection for taxes, subtotal, and total. Let's go back. And if you need to run the report after you do a find, you want to click this button so that we'll put the headers back onto these particular reports. That's very important. When you do a find, it'll strip out the headers, and then you only use these fields to search on down here below. Okay. The next one is the payment list view, which shows you each payment in order. And this again is where you click on this to go to the portal to edit the particular record. And it shows you by the ID which item it was used on and the date. The payment report, now that's going to be more detailed, just like the last one was for the invoice. On the payment, once again, you could search by the item and the item ID. In my sample record, it was only for one item, so I didn't have but one payment. But if you had multiple payments with multiple items, they would all be listed, and you can use the find in order to find whatever you're looking for, or grouping whatever things you want to group. You may want to do a summary report where you're looking at an entire week of payments. And that's a case where you would look at you want to see the actual revenue that was brought in for any particular time, a day, week, month, year, quarter. And you could do that by doing a find and then doing the date span. Now in a date span, in this case, it would be using the date paid field. And there is an explanation of how to do date ranges on the FAQs on the ontargetsolutions.com or .biz website, where you would go ahead and it would walk you through a video of how to do a date range. Okay, going to the next item. Expenses is that separate screen that we went through and we talked about, but I did not go back in and actually show you the blow up screen. This is a blown up view of the actual, like if you did a receipt or something like that, this would be what you would see. In this case, I just took a graphic where I had my daughter's website, the header on the website for her website view, just to have something in that space. And then we go down to the expense list view where it lists each expense by month, which I did not cover that detail. There's the expense report. In this case, it wants to have a sort order, and I say continue. Well, I'll have to come back to that later. Let's go back down to the picked picture, which is the one we just went through. Now, employee, which is a separate screen. We went through the employee screens, and I just want to point out that there is a button for the employee schedule. And again, this is a portal record where you can go in and you can edit the individual portal record. You can see the individual portal data. Down at the very bottom are two that we did not cover, which is the equipment list schedule. And this is one where you would come in and put the vehicles, and I just added one for this, which says a semi 20-ton equipment transport, because it seemed obvious that the case tractor needed to have a larger truck than a pickup or a 2-ton. So I put one in there. To edit this, you would go ahead and click on it, and then go up here and edit it in this field. You can add new ones by adding it here. The last one is the most interesting one that I did not cover because it is really a valuable field or screen to know about. In this screen, when you create a customer, you're creating a customer that is used in the asset issue. In this particular case, you want to fill in all the fields. In the sample records, I did not create all the field listing, so I'm going to go to the next or prior one. Let's go prior. Let's say show all first. And you go prior. Anyhow, they're supposed to go. So anyhow, there's two of them in here. And what you use these for is to create that particular drop-down listing for the customer. And in the customer location, that would be something for where the equipment is going to be going to, or where it's going to be at as far as a customer's location. Might be a warehouse, it might be a building, but it gives you the name of where to look for it, like look for building 24 or whatever it might be. The cell phone of the contact, the office phone, and 2 contacts. And it's important to put something in the contacts, because when somebody's hauling something and they are not familiar, like a salesman set up something in the calendar, it's important to know who you have to contact when you get there, or you're just standing there with your hands open saying, I need somebody to help me. So 2 contacts would make it very helpful for the person that's either picking up or delivering an item to contact a person at a location. And then it goes back to equipment service or back to the asset management screen. In the asset management screen, I think we've covered everything, and I want to conclude by saying thank you for taking this application and the videos for it. And again, if you have questions, please contact me through ontargetsolutions.biz and go to the FAQ in the drop-down menu and use the FAQ field at the right to ask a question and leave your email. And that way I'll get the email immediately if you have a question, either on my iPhone or on my computer. I'd be very happy to help you, and recall that all tech support is free on this application, and it's always free to have technical support with any applications that you purchase from us. Thank you.